Welcome to Let's Talk Philippines Originals. Hope you enjoyed today's story, and if I could ask you to subscribe to the channel, that would mean the world. So, let's get into today's original. I got married in the Philippines, and I thought I was doing everything right. I didn't meet her in a bar, and I thought I did all my homework about everything I needed to know. I met her on a dating app that I joined as soon as I landed in Manila. I'd never seen so many people interested to meet me after I joined that app. I had the pick of all the girls getting in contact with me. I really liked the profile of a girl called Anne. She said she was a hard-working professional who worked in a call centre. She was looking for someone to spend her life with. I was looking for something serious too. My marriage back in the US had ended in divorce and the loss of half of everything I worked my life for, but I did miss having company, and I asked if she'd like to meet up and get to know each other. We arranged to meet at a restaurant and to go out on a dinner date. I was wanting to know how she did her work, where she was from, and if we could develop a connection. I arrived at our meeting point 5 minutes early. I'm the guy who would rather be 1 hour early as opposed to being 2 minutes late. I don't like it when people are late, but she was 20 minutes late. I was prepared to let this slide because when she arrived, I was captivated by the way she held herself. We introduced ourselves, although we'd been chatting online, and through the course of a meal, we asked each other lots of questions. For some reason, she was very hesitant every time I mentioned her job. She couldn't describe what it was about. She just said she worked in a call centre, answering customer support calls for customers from a company in America. That's all she said, and she refused to elaborate on it. I didn't want to push her. It was only our first date, and she was working in Manila after moving there from Bohol, where she was originally from. She told me how it was her dream to move back there one day with enough money to build a house and take care of her family. I talked about my marriage failing back at home and me moving to the Philippines to retire. I was in my mid-40s, but able to retire, and how I wanted to find someone to settle down with and hopefully have a more successful relationship than I did with my wife. Anne and I, that's what she was called, spoke for hours, and I invited her to go for a drink as well. She happily obliged, and we went to a bar close by and talked more over some drinks. I didn't want to push anything further than that. I was looking for something serious, not something casual, so there was no rush. After we'd finished our drinks and learned a lot about each other, we called it a night, and I returned back to the condo I was renting. I don't know where she went, but I assumed back home as well, as she said she needed to work the next day as it was Monday. As I'm writing this, that should have come across as a red flag even on our first date, but I didn't think anything of it. She just said she had to work early on Monday morning, but she also said she answered calls from clients in the US, and early Monday morning would be Sunday evening, US time, so which company had customers calling them in the middle of the night. I didn't think anything about it at the time though. I just had a good time with her, and we arranged to see each other again the following evening after she finished work. This time, I let her pick where to go, and she chose a famous Filipino restaurant. We had some great lechon and talked for hours, and I felt like I was getting to know her. She seemed to be showing a high level of interest in me, and we went for drinks afterwards, and ended up going back to my place. We dated for a good 3 months, and I felt like I wanted to take things to the next level, and wanted to find out if she felt the same. She said she was enjoying herself with me, and would love to take it to the next level, and we decided it was best if she moved in with me. Again, another red flag came up around this time. She never stayed at my place during the day, ever before, saying she had to go to work. But when we decided that we were going to be serious and she was going to move in with me, she told me that she had something to tell me. Unfortunately, she lost her job a few days before this decision. She said she'd look for another one and hoped to get one soon, and didn't want this to get in the way of our relationship. I told her not to worry about it. Take your time and find a job when you're ready. But in hindsight, I'm betting she never had a job in the first place and was just trying to appear as being a respectable girl. I have my ideas of what she used to do before she met me, and I'll get to that at the end. I didn't know at the time, but it really wasn't much of a problem, I thought. She moved in. She didn't have many things. She just bought a small bag with her clothes in. I asked where everything else was. She just said she rented her apartment and it had everything in it. None of it belonged to her, so she didn't need to bring it. A lot of what she owned was in her family's home in Bohol, so she didn't bring many things. I told her I was excited to go and visit the place where she came from at some point. But when I brought that up, she quickly changed the subject, saying, "What are we going to do today?" Something along those lines, don't remember exactly. So far, any guy who was infatuated with the girl would have seen a number of red flags if they weren't. I didn't see any of these because I was falling for her. I need you guys listening to understand this. I can see looking back, but at the time I was blind. I was happy to be building this relationship with what I thought was a wonderful girl. It was great initially when she moved in. I felt like we were really serious, and I was starting to think of my future with Anne included in it, and I hoped she was feeling the same. We lived the normal life, but when I raised the possibility of going to Bohol again, she told me she wasn't quite ready to take me there, but we could go soon. "How about we go somewhere else first and have a vacation then?" I said. And we decided we would go to Cebu. 2 weeks we spent in Cebu, having the best time, and I was starting to feel like I was ready to marry this girl. She was 15 years younger than me, but I wasn't too old, and I thought she appreciated the fact I wasn't far, far older than her. I picked the right moment, and when we were sat on the beach, I pulled out a ring that I bought back in Manila and asked her if she would marry me. She started crying, said that would make her the happiest girl in the world, and she would love to marry me, and thank you for asking. That made me a happy man. I was engaged to what I thought was going to be the best marriage ever. The process to get married was a bit involved. I had to go to the embassy to get a document to say I was fit to marry, and then I had to get a marriage license. It took a couple of weeks, if I recall, to get that, and we needed a host of other documents as well, such as birth certificates, and the list went on and on. We finally did get everything sorted and had a civil ceremony and went to register the marriage. From start to finish, I'd say it took us around a month to get all the necessary paperwork and wait for things to happen. But it was a fun month and an exciting one because we were getting married and we loved each other. Or so I thought. After the marriage, I surprised her with tickets to Bohol. I was ready to meet her family, and I thought as we were married now, it would be the best time. She didn't react like I was expecting, very evasive, like she wasn't really ready to go there, but I brushed it off as a non-issue. I'd already booked a honeymoon that was going to be a surprise, but I wanted to go and visit her family first. I felt like I was part of the family now, and that was important to me. When we got to Bohol, she wasn't her usual self. When we arrived at the hotel, she said she had something to tell me that she hadn't told me before. She didn't know how to say it. She told me that her family that she talked about wasn't real. She had her mom and dad, but they had sadly passed away, and she didn't know where her siblings were, as it happened such a long time ago. Immediately, I felt that was the reason why she acted so differently when I talked about Bohol, but I felt sorry for her in this moment. The reason she gave me, there was nothing I could say to be angry with her. I said you should have told me, and I'd have understood. I actually ended up feeling sorry for her in that moment, but again, looking back, I see this as a red flag. I bet her family actually were not as she claimed, and perhaps she wanted to keep things a secret from them about what she was doing. I don't really know, but that's my guess. We ended up leaving Bohol and went back to Manila the day after. That's when I surprised her with the honeymoon that I'd booked to go to Singapore. She immediately lightened up and turned back into her usual self, forgetting everything that had happened over the past few days. She'd never left the Philippines before and was excited to go to Singapore for a week. We had an amazing time in Singapore, but wow, that country is expensive. We went to all the hot spots, loved Sentosa Island, and she really liked the theme park there. I enjoyed walking around places like Little India and the other older settlements, but all in, Singapore was fantastic, and I could probably say I would move there myself if I was a lot richer than I was, but I wasn't. After the week was up, we returned to the Philippines and back to the condo I was renting. I was sure that she was the person she said she was, that she loved me and wanted to be with me. I thought it was only right to open up a joint account for our expenses. I was retired in my 40s, and most of my money was invested in the markets in a simple index fund, and it paid me good dividends, which allowed me to live the retired life. I wasn't going to touch that, but I had a few $100,000 in cash, and I was thinking about buying a condo so we didn't have to pay rent, and also feel like we would be developing firmer roots. I ended up putting a few thousand in our joint account. I wanted her to be responsible for paying all the bills, and she seemed to be capable of that over the next few months. From when she told me originally that she didn't have her job anymore, not once had she brought up looking for another one. I would have definitely told her not to bother and she can just stay with me and not work, but she never brought it up. Was this another red flag that I overlooked? Potentially it was, but I thought we were a great married couple. We looked at some condos that were available for sale, but if I'm being honest, I found that they seemed to be too expensive for what they were. I was expecting them to be a lot more affordable, given where we were, and I decided against buying a condo, at least for the time being. It made a lot more sense to rent, and we were flexible and can move anywhere we wanted. Anne was okay with this, as I was thinking about her as well, being my wife. I wanted to make sure she was happy, but it was decided that we held off buying a condo anytime soon. The next few months went by and things were still great, but I did find myself getting bored in the day. I didn't have anything to do, and I felt like I needed a purpose. What could I do that I could enjoy? Not necessarily to try and make extra money, but if I did, all the better. I found some things that I was going to try to export back to the US. Sounded like fun, and I wanted to be involved with it, and I ended up putting around $50,000 in our joint account, which was meant to be used for the business. I didn't want to tell you what I was buying and selling because it didn't work, and I ended up losing money. It wasn't a problem, but if I told you, you'd probably think that would never work. But I tried this for a few months, but yes, it didn't work. If anything, in fact, we didn't sell anything on some weeks. When we did sell things, it was at a small loss because we just couldn't find them cheap enough or sell them expensive enough. It kept me busy though, and I didn't mind because I didn't need the money. We decided to stop doing this, there was no point, but I did want to find something else to do. I had the $50,000 in the account that wasn't doing anything, so I ended up just leaving it in there, not thinking anything of it. Life continued, but I found myself continuously getting bored and not knowing what to do to occupy my time. Anne seemed to be fine not doing anything, but I wanted to be busy. I looked into the possibility of opening a restaurant, opening a bar, doing anything that would be enjoyable. But after speaking to people who had done this, I decided against it. I didn't want to lose a lot of money. A few thousand would be okay, but not tens of thousands. That's when I thought about building a house with the money down on her island, but again, she struck it off, saying she didn't want to go there. Things between us were still okay. I was just getting bored and didn't know what to do, and Anne seemed to want to just continue as things were. I went out one evening to meet a friend. When I returned to the condo, Anne wasn't there, and I was unable to contact her. She'd never done this before, and it felt strange. I tried to contact some of her friends, and none of them knew where she was. She'd gone for a few days, and I was starting to panic and think the worst. But then she called me, told me she was sorry, but she didn't love me anymore, and she wanted to separate. I couldn't believe what she was saying. As far as I was thinking, everything was good, and I was happy, and she was happy, but this came from nowhere. Perhaps I should have looked into the marriage laws before I got married, because getting divorced in the Philippines is not the same as if you're anywhere else. Basically, you can't get divorced. She said she wanted to separate, something along those lines, and she said she took the money out of the joint account, $50,000. How your world can shift so quickly from being happy and content to being devastated and distraught is uncanny. The money was in a joint account and was legally hers as well as mine, so I couldn't do anything about it. She even told me she knew about everything I had, and if I tried to do anything about it, she'd come after that as well. The next couple of days, I just kind of sat there not knowing what to do. But I quickly needed to pull myself together, and I contacted a lawyer to know my rights. I was informed of the situation and how the Philippines was more difficult to separate from your spouse. He informed me of what to do and told me it was best to let her keep that money and just go our separate ways. I had no choice and I let it go. I saw Anne one more time when she came to get her things. I asked her for only one thing, that was to tell me the truth about everything, and she said she didn't love me anymore. I asked her if she actually worked at a call centre like she said before we met, and she said she did. I was never able to find out the truth. But why she married me, I will never know. My lawyer told me that I should go for an annulment based on how she acted and perhaps withheld the truth from me. I would just need to find out what the truth was. So he advised offering her some money for the truth to see if we could get the marriage annulled. I contacted her and told her about this and how if she would, it would be in her best interest as well. I would be prepared to give her $10,000 if she was willing to play. I think she saw the reason and agreed, and she spilled the beans about everything, and how she never worked before, how she wasn't even from Bohol, and how she used to work in a bar, but wanted to appear as a respectable girl. The annulment process is very expensive, and I'm still going through it, and I have no idea if it will ever work. Chances are it might even not, but my lawyer says we have a sort of chance for success, given how it could be seen as her lying to me in order to get married. It's probably going to cost me more money as well than I've already given her. I guess all in, I'd lost close to $30,000, including all the legal fees, plus that $50,000. So I lost about $80,000 to her. I would say to anyone thinking about getting married in the Philippines, take your prospective wife to a different country and get married there. Then if you want to get a divorce, it's easier. Think long and hard before you get married in the Philippines. It can put you in a position you don't want to be in. I'm still living in the same condo, got a new girlfriend now, and I'm taking things a lot slower than I did with Anne. It's amazing just how far people will go to try and deceive you. But we live and learn. Thanks for tuning in to today's Let's Talk Philippines original. For a link to the first version, please see the description. Thanks everyone, really appreciate it.